Bad Days show, Simple Wellness for Women. I'm Jolene Fisher, your host, and every episode of the No Bad Days show will give you a view into the life of another woman. We'll share her stories, her triumphs, her struggles, and the lessons that she's learned along the way. And my goal as your host is to bring topics to you that are relevant and encouraging, because I want you to be inspired to be the hero of your own story. This is why I introduce you to brave women who do hard things, and they're truly living out the meaning of the motto, No Bad Days, right? That they have had bad days, but they've triumphed, and we get to learn from that.
Oh, so, I like that.
Yay. So welcome, Kelsy. Kelsy is the founder of Bloom Mom Tribe, and she is a wife to 3 awesome kids, 3 doggies too.
Yep.
And a tank full of
fish. And 3 kids. Yeah. And a lot of fish.
So you have an adventurous husband, and your whole family is very adventurous.
Yeah.
So we'll hear more about that. And she lives in Liberty Lake, Washington, really near to me. So that's why she's here in person today. And we appreciate having you here. But she truly appreciates the Pacific Northwest and all the seasons that it has to offer. So hence the adventurous life, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Her happiest times are when she's with her families, and you can see her. She bought me a Starbucks today with a Starbucks in hand. Cheers. Or a glass of, how do you pronounce it?
Pinot Grigio.
I don't drink that. I'm a red wine cat girl.
Depends on the time of the day, though. Please.
Right. Yeah. So welcome to the show.
Thank
really
you so much, Jolene. So happy to be here.
Yes. So I met Kelsy. I don't even know how we originally met.
I don't either.
But we both are entrepreneurial women who live in the same city, and we've gravitated toward one another. And she asked me to be one of the speakers at her first conference, Bloom, back in
2017.
2017. Yeah. And now this will be your 4th big conference.
4th big one
coming up. But let's just start. Let's bring it back a little bit. We'll get to that in a minute. Tell us a little bit about your background and your family and kind of what drives you.
Okay. There's so much. Thank you so much for having me. I love being able to share my story and other people's stories, and we're so much alike that way. So we just have this kinship, besides the fact that we've already talked about this, introverted extroverts. So here we are. But thank you for having me. So I grew up here in Spokane and lived here most of my life. We did have a couple of our children over in Seattle. I moved there after college. Went to WSU, where Roderick goes. And then I thought, you know what, I need to get out of the small town. So I moved to the city with my friend, and we had lots of fun adventures, and I learned how to, work in corporate and be independent and gain confidence and all those things that you do when you graduate from college, and just, set your own little world on fire and learn to pay your bills and live off top ramen when you can't pay your bills and all those things, right? And met my husband there, who I actually went to high school with. But we didn't really know each other. I was a couple years older, so never looked at each other that way. But we ran into each other in Seattle and ended up, from that moment on, we've been together from that moment on, June 10th, like 25 years ago. We now have 3 kids, but we had 2 there, and I lived in Seattle for 13 years, and just, kind of in person. That's where I got a lot of my growth, not only navigating a big city, but navigating corporate worlds and different personalities and cultures and all those things that I was really craving. I wanted that. I felt like Spokane was kind of small for me, and I knew I needed to get out and see more of the world. So for me, that was comfortably going over to Seattle. So then fast forward, and we decided that we need to come back home to Spokane and be around our family. And then we had our 3rd child. So now we've got 3 children, and from preteen to college students, and everybody's doing really well. I think that having kids and being married has taught me so much about myself. Jolene and I were talking about what are the things that have, helped you grow. And I honestly think having children and each one of their personalities, and the husband, and even the dogs and their personalities, it all just feeds into who you are. And sometimes that can be absolutely fabulous, and other times it can be maybe not so great. And so that's why I have found that it's really important to stay true to who you are, even when there are days or years that you forget because you're just busy doing other things. So really important to take all of the adventures that you have with that adventurous husband and those kids and the animals and the family and the environment and jobs or whatever you have, and just learn from every single one of them.
Yep. I saw on your Bloom Facebook or Instagram story today, you had the question for moms, what is the impactful thing your children have taught you? Mm-hmm. What were some of the answers that you've been getting from other moms, and what would be your answer to that?
Well, for sure, patience. And I don't know if we all ever get as patient as we should be, mm-hmm. at least not for me. One gal said learning more about herself and then how to, I can't remember what she said, just learning more about herself. Kind of like I said, I mean, the more you're with and bringing up and raising these humans, the more you learn about yourself and your own struggles and your strengths. And so she's learning from that. Somebody else said, that it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay not to get out of your pajamas if you can't. It's okay to just all the things that we've been told. It's okay. You don't have to be perfect every day. You don't have to get dressed up every day. You can put the dry shampoo in your hair. You don't have to have dinner on the table at a certain time every night. You don't have to make the bed every morning. It's just know that that's just one day. Move on. Go to the next day.
Right.
Don't buckle under.
Right. We don't tell our children they need to be perfect. And so
right.
Why are we telling ourselves the same thing
right.
or thinking we need to be?
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that my kids have taught me is the true meaning of unconditional love. And when you have those lives in your hands and they mess up like we all do, but to just love them through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, it's hard.
It is hard.
It is truly hard to not put conditions on the way we love people.
That's a nice way to put it. It is hard though. And then that helps you grow,
right?
Because you're in turn learning to love yourself by being an unconditional lover of your family.
Right. So tell us a few things that have really shaped who your family is today. I know you've been through some hard things. Your husband and your daughter. I know those stories. Why don't you share a little bit with us those if you want, or anything else that you feel like could really speak to these women today and how you've gone through and come over on the other side of that. And we'll get into what you're doing now.
Oh yeah. So I feel like every event in my life, and probably true for most people, it is a chance to grow. And you can either have a pity party if something bad happens and shut down, or you can move on and fight through it and come out the other side being stronger and better. And for me, I grew up basically with a single, my dad was around, but maybe I saw him once a year. And that's not sad for me, honestly. And we ended up having a great relationship and he's since passed, but that's not sad for me because I didn't know him enough to miss him. They were divorced when I was so little that I didn't know him enough to miss him. So I've seen people who have similar stories and they're still heartbroken and damaged because maybe they didn't have a father-daughter relationship. It's okay to make it a different relationship or to move on and get past that. And I think that's what I've learned about all of the struggles I've been through. It's okay to move on and get stronger and not sit and dwell in what is. But I will start with the things that have shaped me. I thought about when she asked me last week in the email, because I get asked this all the time, but you just don't stop and really think about it because nobody's having you air it out here like this, are the challenges that my family has gone through. And I've had to ride along with them in those challenges, in those journeys. And so one is when my husband and I were just married, we were newlyweds, 4 months into it or something. And he went skiing with a friend. And that morning I woke up and I was so overwhelmed with, I didn't know what the word was, but I felt worried. I felt sick to my stomach. I felt nauseous and I had no idea why, but I was extremely stressed out. And, but I knew he was going skiing and he said, do you think it has to do with me? And I said, I don't think so, but I don't know. I can't get rid of this feeling. And I said, please just be careful. And that was like 6 a.m. because they were driving 2.5 hours to this ski mountain where nobody was wearing helmets yet. And again, it's been like 23 years. So he went skiing and I'll fast forward, but he hit his head on a slip of ice on an extremely steep slope and hit his head back like this. And when he got up, unbeknownst to him, he started having all the symptoms of a stroke. So, the numb arm, the nausea, a little bit of tingling in the arm, and that happened right away. But, just being a guy, not thinking about it, not knowing symptoms of a stroke, not remembering that I was worried about him back home, he drove back home 2.5 hours with, whatever concussion he might have had and these other symptoms just exacerbating. So he gets home and I said, how was it? And I could tell he didn't feel well. He told me, I fell on the ice. And, he's a fast skier. So let's just say he was probably skiing really fast, but that doesn't mean that he deserved to have a horrible accident. So we had just changed our insurance the day before to a brand new insurance. It was January 1st, the new day to change to insurance. I said, let's take you to the emergency room and, let's make sure you're okay. I think you have a concussion. And so we took him. That is where I first learned to use my voice for someone that I loved. I really had never done that before. I'd always kind of spoken up for myself or a boss if I was working for someone, or a coworker or a patient in the dental office I was working at. I knew how to stick up for people and I was confident in how to help them, but I'd never had to do it for my family. And at the time, the emergency room nurse basically told him he needed some Advil and maybe a couple of pain pills and that he was fine. And she did not take any x-rays and sent us home. And for 5 days straight, he was getting worse and worse, not feeling well, getting a headache, having horrible pain right here and in his neck. And he's a finance guy, so he was saying numbers wrong and backwards. And his assistant called me a couple of days later and she's like, I'm worried about Heath. And I said, I know I am too, but we went to the doctor. They said he's fine. Well, 4.5 days later, he woke up in the morning and he ended up having all the signs of a stroke. While he was able to call me, because I had already left for work, he called me and said, I'm not feeling well. I'm really nauseous. I've got kind of vertigo. I can't move. I rushed home from where I was working, picked him up. He was already displaying, like I said, signs of a stroke. I knew something was wrong. He couldn't roll down the window when we got in the car, he couldn't roll down the window and he was needing air and his tongue started getting numb and he wasn't able to speak. So I knew something was happening, but I didn't know what it was. And we had just given each other cell phones for Christmas, like a week earlier. So
this is a while ago.
Yeah, I know.
Cell phones were like that.
I know. They weren't the giant ones. They were a decent size. So he literally at that moment, he really saved himself because I said, okay, I'm getting you to a hospital. And we'd never been to a hospital in Seattle. I didn't know where to go. And he's sitting in the corner trying to roll down the window and going, and I'm so busy trying to figure out, is my husband dying? Where am I going? Where am I taking him? And I heard him say 911. So I called 911. Oh. She talked me through how to get him down to the closest fire station. And he's over in the corner going, are they on? And he couldn't speak.
Fire station.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we finally get him down there. And so we get him down there. I thought he was dead in the front seat. His eyes were rolled back. We got him into the fire station. And, he ended up having seizures on the floor in his brand new suit from Italy or from our honeymoon. And so it was just one of those times where I thought, he's not dying today. We're not going to let this happen. And the moment I realized that it mattered how I took care of the problem or what was happening was when one of the paramedics said to another one and thought I didn't hear, call the chaplain. And I looked over and said, did you say call the chaplain? And he said, yes, it'll be the best for you. And I said, no, you don't call the chaplain because I know that means that you think my husband's dying on your floor today and he's not dying on the floor today. Don't call the chaplain. We're going to the emergency room. And I just put my foot down and I was very adamant. I wasn't a crying mess. I'm sure some people are. I just was so like, no, you're not calling the chaplain. I don't need someone to come here and give my husband the last rites. We're going to get through this. That was the first of 4 times that day where I had to use my voice and make sure that my husband was taken care of the best he could. And it even extended and he ended up, I'm sure I'm getting you all so riled up, like, oh my gosh, what happened? He ended up, yes, having a stroke. His entire neck was a blood clot There was no air coming through. And within a couple of hours, the doctor told me after he finally came over and was able to get, things on board that would help clear up this huge blood clot. He had to have 3 different things. Most people either die or need 1 or 2 different things. But this doctor gave him a cocktail of medications that he said it will either kill him and he'll start bleeding out and you'll see that, or it may save him because he's young, he's healthy, he's 27, he's got a strong neck, whatever's going on is all right here. And so he ended up living and obviously now thriving. And he had to, go to all the things that he needed to go to afterwards, go get his blood checked, make sure that, his blood was thin enough to help release that clog and other things like that. But even after that, we were still fighting. And I was learning to use my voice with the insurance company who wanted to move him from the hospital that they'd first taken him to. They wanted to move him to a different hospital. And I said, absolutely not. My husband is in ICU. So just learning how to use your voice and advocate for your loved ones, it not only obviously is the most important part for them, but you're learning that you have a voice and that you're confident enough to go ahead and move forward and use your words. Use your words. It doesn't matter if people aren't listening. Someone's going to hear it and it's going to help your loved one and other people down the road. And that's where I think MaryKate's Lyme disease comes in, is when she had Lyme disease, which was a chronic mystery illness that took us a year to diagnose. Just knowing that I didn't care if people thought we were crazy. I didn't care if the 27 specialists that we saw at over 100 appointments thought that we were crazy or that it was in MaryKate's head or that it was only hormones. I knew it was okay to use my voice and that finally someone would listen. And I just kept having to push forward.
So MaryKate's her middle daughter. For those of you who don't know MaryKate, she's her middle daughter.
Yeah.
And how old is she now?
She's a senior. She's 17 and a half.
And when did this happen? When was she diagnosed with Lyme disease?
So that was when she was in 8th grade. She missed all of 8th grade. It started in 7th grade, the symptoms did. And we started seeing doctors and getting tests and things for a year. And then she was finally diagnosed at the end of 8th grade and got on medication. And by the time 9th grade started, she was ready to go back to school, mostly.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the final thing that tipped you off that that's what it was? I mean, obviously you went through a lot to figure that out and people thought you were all crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who was it or what was it that finally got you to that diagnosis?
Well, when someone's sick, whether it's yourself or a loved one, you automatically get on Google and you're, doing research like an FBI agent. And so I felt like my husband and I knew as much as I possibly could about all different diseases and illnesses out there. And she got tested for everything. They thought she had an MS. They thought maybe lupus and so many things. And she saw so many doctors and had tests run and everything kept coming back normal. And hence why so many people thought we were cuckoo, or that I had Munchausen syndrome, which I don't know if you are all familiar with that, but that is a diagnosis of a parent or a caretaker who puts an illness onto someone. And there are people like that. I mean, if you've ever read People magazine or, you can Google it, Munchausen syndrome, but it's someone who is putting an illness onto someone and they're really not ill. And that's a horrible thing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So just dealing with all that in the back of my head and trying to still be strong for my kid. I can't tell you how many, there were days I would take 3 baths because I couldn't handle just life. I didn't know what to do. 3 baths because, you go in the bathtub and that's where you let your troubles go down the drain. My sister told me that years ago and it's true. And so if you ever know that I'm stressed out, you'll find me in my bathtub.
Oh, water is so healing though.
It is. Mm-hmm. And just that quiet space and that quiet time. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there were doctors who had no idea that they were taking my calls. So I'd get in that bath and I'd be relaxed and then I'd get all fired up and think, I'm calling that doctor's office right now. And I'd call the doctor's office before I could lose my guts and try and get her into another appointment or ask for another test or, it just push. So just crazy.
So the final doctor or specialist or naturopath, or who was it?
Well, what happened is that all these tests have been so negative, and I started, something came up when we were at a doctor's office in Seattle, and the doctor said, how long has she had her braces? And I looked at her and I said, "MaryKate, you got your braces on right when it started getting really bad." And she said, "I did." So we looked up, metal poisoning, and I ended up ordering metal tests and for hair and metal, and it was hair and blood tests. And I ordered those, but at the same time, I was so adamant that we needed to figure out what it was fast because we were losing her. She didn't leave her room. She could barely get out of bed most mornings. She needed to have the dark. She wouldn't even go with me in the drive-through to Starbucks. Like she couldn't go to a drive-through. She couldn't go to school. She missed all of 8th grade. It was really difficult to even get her to get through some online classes, which was really helpful at the time. She started with 4 of her core classes. And this is a child who's going to be going into 9th grade, right? And missed all of 8th grade. And her friends all thought she was either crazy or suicidal or that she just didn't care. It just was so sad. So I got these tests. I had the orthodontist take off the braces. 2 days later, we drove back from Seattle. I called the orthodontist office, and they said they'd never heard of anybody having these issues. And I said, "I don't care. We're coming in." And they were so amazing about it and took off her braces. And we did feel like we noticed a little bit of her vertigo wasn't as bad. She was able to walk a little bit better, but nothing else really got better. So I thought, it's still not it. In my mind, I was hoping, okay, she's allergic to metal and this has messed with her whole body this whole time. Now what happened was it was a double whammy. So I then asked for a Lyme disease test because I'd been researching enough that I knew what the symptoms were. I carry around in my photo album on my phone a list of the symptoms that I got from the doctor who ended up helping MaryKate. And I can't tell you how many times I've shared that with people.
Yes. So we need to share that in the comments section.
Yes. Oh, that's yes. Because so many people have reached out to us through our journey and like, how did you figure it out? So I sent the test in. We got her tested through a naturopath, and it came back that it didn't come back fully positive, but she had so many of the let's just say it was checked off here and there, but not 100%. And I thought that's enough for me. So I wrote down on Facebook one day, MaryKate is allergic to metal. She's come back with some Lyme disease things, and no one has been listening to us. And at least now I know I'm not crazy, but I don't know what to do next. And somebody on Facebook, a friend, Melissa, she read my post and she messaged me and said, "I know someone who had Lyme disease, and that doctor's right out here in the valley." Which, we were looking in Seattle, and she was ready to go to the Mayo Clinic. I'd already written her whole entire 3-page, referral for that. And to be able to go to this doctor who a friend referred from my Facebook post, and this doctor looked at MaryKate, looked at the list of symptoms that MaryKate checked off, which she checked off about 50 out of 54 symptoms. 2 of the symptoms were for men, which didn't even apply. And the doctor said right away, "I don't need a test. I don't need another test. Your daughter has Lyme disease." And we walked out of there like somebody was finally listening. God was finally listening to all these prayers and all. You just wonder, why do we go through these journeys? She put her on medication, and we still were curious, like, is this really it? Because there have been so many times where we thought, oh, it's this, or it's that, or it's the braces, the metal poisoning, or it's this. And within 4 days on this medication, which is just a basic medication that anybody takes if they have a spider bite or a tick bite or whatever, within 4 days, we could tell that we were on the right track. And that was one of the most amazing feelings ever. It truly was. And so she took that medication for 6 months, and that's a long time. I know people are like, "I can't believe you took an antibiotic for 6 months." Well, when you've had a chronic mystery illness for over a year, you can't expect it to be gone in a week or 10 days. And these are bugs in your body.
Yep.
This is an illness inside your body. You've got to clean it out.
Yep.
Yeah, eradicate.
Eradicate the bugs.
Get rid of them.
Termination.
Kill the Lyme.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey. There are a couple different ways, and honestly, she had. There was also, I don't know if she's going to want me to talk about this, but at the time that she started feeling ill, it was spring break of 7th grade. And it was right after we all went as a family to a ski race in Montana. Now you would think that it would be freezing cold and there'd be absolutely no way that there could be ticks running around. But it was one of their spring ski break there. People were skiing in their tutus and their swimsuits. And my daughter and all the other ski racers were wearing their full speed suits, helmet, all their things. Her hair was down to here. And I still think that she got it from a tick in Montana. We were on the eastern side of Montana where, they say ticks are only on the East Coast. Well, that's just hogwash, and that's a whole nother story. You could get me going on that for hours. And so it could have possibly been that. And we did take a tick out of her hair actually when she got back home. Her head had been itching, and I said, oh my gosh, I found a tick, but it wasn't buried in her head. So I did find a tick at the same time that survived all the way from Montana back to Spokane in her hair. But also that same weekend where we stayed in Montana, most of us got bed bugs.
Oh.
And you can get a lot of the kids on the team. I did, Smith, my youngest did. We stayed in like 4 different beds in this one giant room. And so, we'll never 100% know, but it could have been either one of those. And you can get Lyme from ticks, fleas, mice, bed bugs, all the above.
Isn't it a communicable disease now where you can transfer through the blood?
Yes.
If you have it.
Yes, you can pass it on to your child. And I personally think that they don't do this testing, or they're just starting to do this testing right now. I think it should be tested through urine. And so I personally took a Lyme test not long ago that through a company called Sarah's Lab, I believe, and Melinda and Bill Gates are investors and promoters of that product and are on the board, and it's a urine test. And if that can start getting out there in the open, it would be so much easier to catch it before it becomes chronic in someone. That's the important part.
I'm familiar with the Cyrus Labs. Is that CYR?
It's CERES.
Okay, totally different lab.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people haven't heard of it, and I had just been researching because in my mind, the whole time when she was sick, I thought everybody keeps testing her blood for things, and I don't think find it in her blood. I mean, everything kept coming back negative. So what else would lead you to believe that maybe you should try urine or saliva? I mean, we're getting DNA samples with your saliva.
And you have to know specifically what you're testing for with blood.
Right.
And Lyme disease isn't going to come up in a normal blood panel.
Right.
So that's hard.
And the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, they will even tell you on their website that none of their Lyme tests are conclusive. They know it's too hard to just run down like that. So that's why I thought I wanted to find out if maybe I had given it to her, or if I had it. I had been bitten by a tick when I was younger, and my grandpa had to burn it out, and it walked out. It'd been in my leg for 3 days. So it's amazing that I didn't have Lyme disease after all these years.
Right. Yeah. Some of them carry it and some don't. Right.
So true.
But I see a naturopath here in Spokane who is just adamant about if you get bit by a tick, you absolutely go on the regimen for treating Lyme disease, whether or not you get tested or not.
Exactly.
Just start taking the antibiotics because it's not worth the risk.
No, it's really not. And so the first 2 weeks, if somebody realizes that they have a bite, you would normally get put on doxycycline. Here's the thing though, her naturopath knows that it needs to be taken care of. And we put, these flea medications on our dogs' collars because we know that there are ticks and fleas, right? But nobody's taking care of us and worrying about us. So even if your doctor doesn't believe you, you go to another doctor. This is where you start getting your voice and advocating for yourself. If your child comes home and they have a tick bite, are you just going to leave it and hope and cross your fingers that your kid's not going to get sick? Because I promise you, you don't want to go through what we went through, or what Avril Lavigne went through, or Justin Bieber just, said that he has Lyme disease. I promise you, it brings down not only you, if you have it, but your whole family and everybody around you. It's devastating.
Well, and if it is transferred through blood, you want to treat it so that when your kids go off and get married and have their families, they aren't transferring that to other people.
One quick little thing: if you ever have an amoxicillin, some sort of an antibiotic laying around, it's not old, then go ahead and take a couple that day that you notice that you got bit, because sometimes that can be just enough. And that was kind of a tip from our doctor. And so I've always kind of remembered that it's important. So if you have a couple lying around.
Yeah, and then follow up with the doctor immediately. Get the rest of the dose that you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I mean, that is just That's traumatic for a mom.
Mm.
And after all that was not that many years ago. And
Oh,
you
no.
started the Bloom Conference in 2017. Well, prior
16.
to that, you were thinking about
I started
it and you
Mhm.
started it.
Mm-hmm.
The actual first conference was in 2017?
Yep.
Okay. So out of the trials and struggles that you had with MaryKate and being a mom that really advocated for her and taking the 3 baths a day, the self-care.
That was about my only self-care.
Why did you create Bloom for women and for specifically moms?
Well, as she started 9th grade, it was the end of August, and she had been on her medication since April. So she was starting to, come alive again and look like herself and start to feel like herself. And she was getting excited for 9th grade. And she still had those days where she was extremely nervous. Lyme disease causes a lot of anxiety. It just affects your mind so much. And as she started getting better, I realized I was stuck, not even in a holding pattern, but just depressed and completely depleted. And I didn't know what to do with myself anymore. I had been so busy trying to figure out what was wrong with my kid and save her and also, stick up for her and our family and myself, for all the people and even the friends that just didn't understand what we were going through. Nobody could understand. You just can't unless you're there. And one day, it was the weekend of Labor Day, and my best friend of 40 years, who has never, ever in her whole life told me that she was worried about me. And we've had a lot of fun and done a lot of things over those 40 years, college, high school, living together, you name it. And she said, "I'm worried about you, Kels." And it just hit home. This person who has known me for so long realizes that I'm stuck and I'm depressed and I need help. And if everybody else, if she's noticing it, everybody else is going to start. And that means I need to figure out how to get the old Kelsey back. So I went to bed that night praying that I could find the old Kelsey, because it was okay to kind of let go and step back and let MaryKate heal. And it was time for me to heal, because it was actually ended up being somewhat of a PTSD. And it truly was. The doctor said, you have some post-traumatic stress, syndrome from this, and you've got to find a way to take care of yourself and fill back up your bucket. So I went to bed praying about it, and I woke up the next morning and I thought, okay, let's start from scratch. Where am I the happiest person ever? And that is with my family or friends on vacation, which isn't always easy to do, right? But vacations are, you're relaxed and you're with your loved ones or your girlfriends, who should be somewhat of your loved ones as well. They get you. And then I thought, where else? What else makes me happy? And I thought going to conferences, because, you get to hear amazing speakers and you walk away with, motivation, and you're inspired and you get free goodies. You get to be celebrated and you get to go to a different city and without your family. And so that too is really fun. And I thought, gosh, I've always loved going to my conferences, but when I go, it's either with, a team of work people, coworkers, or whatever. My friends aren't able to go with me to these. It's not open to all moms. So I can't just say to my friends, hey, come with me to this 31 Gifts conference. It's amazing, I thought, that's what I want to do. I don't care if that sounds like a big idea. I want to have a conference, in different cities, where I bring together funny moms and speakers and amazing sponsors that will help, celebrate these women with goodies. And I want to fill up everybody's bucket. And maybe if I fill up everybody's bucket, it will fill back up mine. And so the next day I came up with Bloom. All of this within 18-hour period. I came up with Bloom. By loving on ourselves more, we bloom. You don't see that as much all over our website, just because it's such a mouthful, but that's really, truly what it is. By loving on ourselves more, giving ourselves time, filling back up our cup, we're going to love everybody else more, and we're going to bloom. And so that's where it started. And then, here we are planning our 4th one. And it is super hard work. And yes, I jumped in and I had my husband's support. I had the support of my family. I think everybody knew that the old Kelsey needed to come back by then. And it's definitely brought me back. Obviously, mom life is not easy all the time. So there have been struggles still. You've got teenagers in college and just life happens. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. But this helps me wake up in the morning and realize that I'm doing something for other mamas across the country. And that just fills my bucket.
Right. Finding purpose. And you found your purpose in a big way.
It's my purpose project.
Right.
It's my passion project. Yep.
And you allow others to find their voice on stage or get opportunity to get in front of other women, maybe try their first speaking engagement or their 100th or whatever. But she has all sorts of speakers that are so talented and amazing women. The first was just blew my mind who you were able to attract to speak at your conference.
I know.
Wow. It was so much fun. And you also do a lot of experiential stuff at the conference too, hands-on mentorship and relationships with women. So it's not just about listening
and give back. So we always, in every city that we go to, we work with a nonprofit, usually a women and children's shelter. And we do some sort of a give back together as a group in the ballroom so that we're all gathered and sending these things out with love to the people who are receiving them. That's one of my favorite things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to the most at this year's conference? It's going to be in Seattle, by the way.
Yes. So
May
excited.
1st and 2nd. Okay.
I'm looking forward to reaching even more women. We are hoping for 500 women, and we have added Toolbox Talk, which is a couple of dads will be coming on and sharing their tools of how to support their wives, which we'll learn from how to support their wives. These are working wives, stay-at-home wives, wives that have lots of kids. Just what are the best tools that men use and can share with us, and maybe share those with our spouses. So I'm super excited about that. I'm really thrilled about the people that are coming to speak because they all have an amazing message. I mean, these are stories that the women will be inspired by and motivated by, and we want you to feel empowered, and we want you to feel connected to our speakers too, and each other. So I get so excited. It is my favorite thing. And then we've added our vendor marketplace, which is on Friday. We had so many people tell us, we want to shop or we want to, get to know more sponsors. And so we've opened up a 50 vendor marketplace, and we have huge companies coming in like Soma Intimates, who is our sponsor. They, sell the bras and the nighties and all these amazing things. They have 383 boutiques across the country. They are our title sponsor. And I'm just so proud of that because they get what our mission is, and it aligns so well we just align really well with each other. And then we have smaller vendors coming, like a Sensi Gal. So we've got all these women and companies coming together to just share their brands, share their stories, be in person. So I'm excited because those are 50 tables of women sharing what they do and who they are. So you're not only getting them, but then you're getting our speakers on stage. And then you're also we'll be having mentors that are coming in, and every guest is paired up with mentors. And you'll have that chance to, have lunch with mentors, a table of other women who have kind of maybe the same pain point you do. Maybe you need to talk to somebody about fitness and getting healthy. And so maybe Jolene's your mentor. We have another gal who specializes in postpartum depression and birth journeys. And so she'll be another mentor. So I'm really excited that we have found other ways to bring in even more women to share more stories, because that just means more connection.
Right. So are you still looking for more vendors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good to know. And are you still looking for more mentors?
We have room for about 5 more mentors. Okay. If you're interested, email me at Kelsy, Kelsy, at bloommomtribe.com, or, message on Facebook, and I'll pop on and get some information. I'm so excited. Right now we have women coming from 8 states, but it doesn't seem like very many, but they're coming from as far away as Massachusetts and Florida and North Carolina and Texas, and so excited.
So tell us about your pop-ups, because I see one coming soon in Austin, Texas.
I know. Okay. So selfishly, these conferences are a way for me to get away too, right? I'm just being honest. I'm making it work for me. So
and Austin is so fun.
I know, I can't wait. I've always wanted to go to Texas. And so we decided, instead of putting money into a marketing budget and, doing commercials or things like that, or billboards, that we would take that money and actually show up ourselves in different cities. And so this will be our 4th pop-up. We did one in Seattle, Spokane, Boston, and now we'll be in Austin next week for a Galentine's night out. And it's just one of the neatest things. We keep it really intimate on purpose so that women are able to connect authentically, but it's just a chance for moms to get out for the night. And I feel like it's our way of giving them just a little bit of bloom I call it Bloom Therapy because we're still celebrating them with swag bags from our sponsors that help us sponsor and put on these events. And we're giving them speakers to hear from, and then we're connecting them with each other. So they're still walking away with their, their buckets filled and maybe feeling rejuvenated and refreshed, but it was just a night out. And that gives them a dose of what they could get if they went to the full conference. So yeah, Austin's coming up, and I'm still trying to find a pair of cowgirl boots.
Oh, what size of shoes do you wear?
8.5, 9. I need to look at yours.
I wear 9.
Okay. Oh, I love this connection.
You might just buy your own once you get down there.
I know, I might. I'm super excited. So
we have fun stores down there.
Mm-hmm. And I also, just to something kind of similar to this is I do lunch on Wednesdays, and that is another way, because for me it's not about me and it's not about a Bloom Mom Tribe, and I know that No Bad Days is the same thing, and Jolene feels the same way. This is not about Bloom Mom Tribe or me. It is about us reaching moms across the country or across the valley or Spokane or the state and letting them bloom and sharing their stories. So I do a lunch and listen every Wednesday, and I interview women from across the country, just like Jolene's doing, and record them and put them on YouTube. And that's what I'm here to do, is help share other people's stories. That's what I'm here to do. Yeah. Because we learn from each other. Yeah. Oh yeah. We all have a story, and we learn from each other. Yep. Takes a village.
Definitely does.
Everyone, does anybody have questions?
Yeah, let's get some questions answered. Or
I'll definitely have Jolene put somewhere that list of the Lyme disease symptoms. It's something that we have shared with so many people. I can't tell you how many people we've helped to get to the right diagnosis, the right doctor, the right whatever, to get helped. In fact, one quick little story, and this is again about learning to use your voice. And I think it's been so important for my daughter to watch me advocate for her. So when she was first ill, the very first couple of months, we went to her regular doctor, her pediatrician, who knew MaryKate as, this vivacious girl. She was second in the country for ski racing as a 12-year-old. She had been president of her school of 750 kids in the elementary. So this is a kid who was, up here on top, doing her thing, and then she was about right here when we went to see the doctor. She was about half of who she was. And this pediatrician, we saw her 3 or 4 times, and she repeatedly said, these are hormones. This is hormones. And didn't remember how much she enjoyed MaryKate. She used to tell me, I love talking to your daughter. She's so mature. She put it all aside and just wrote it off, just checked off a box, yep, MaryKate's it's her hormones. And I have all of that still in paperwork. And I was so devastated. It's not the right word. I was disgusted. I left there. I said, we will never go back. And so we never did. But her nurse was always absolutely amazing. She just always made me feel like, I know you're not crazy, Kelsey, and just keep doing what you need to do. So if I needed any sort of paperwork or referral, she'd try to help me instead of getting me to the pediatrician. So a few months later, only 3 months later, one of my dear friends, she took her kids in for some vaccinations in December. It's about 2 months after we quit seeing this doctor. And the nurse was in there and talking to my friend, and something came up about the nurse's daughter had just gotten back from Greece and had been sick and had gotten some bed bugs. And her friend that she had traveled with, they were in their 20s, her friend had gotten bed bugs too. Her friend went and got a medication when she got back from Greece, and her bed bugs were fine and caused no problems. Well, this nurse's daughter did not get medication because she just didn't know how bad it could get, and she started developing symptoms of Lyme disease. So my friend says, after listening to the symptoms of the nurse's daughter, says, you need to talk to my friend Kelsey. And the nurse said, Kelsy McHenry? And MaryKate, our friend, said yes. And she said, I know who she is. So we reached out to each other, and I referred that pediatrician who didn't listen to us, I referred her nurse's daughter to our doctor. She had a huge case of Lyme disease from the bed bug bites in Greece and got on the medication within a week. And I started keeping in touch with her every day because I wanted to see. I mean, she was one of the first people that I could actually see getting better. she was one of the first people we helped after MaryKate. So it was really important for me to see that somebody was actually getting help and it was working. So we were in contact all the time, and so was her mom. And she started getting better within a week, started feeling better. And by, I want to say February, she went on a trip with her fiance. Well, they got engaged. She went on a trip with her boyfriend. They got engaged, and she's been doing well ever since. But to know that even the nurse at that doctor's office who wouldn't listen to me, it's okay to keep pushing. I pushed with that nurse and said, I emailed her and said, I heard about your daughter. Do you want me to help you? I had to push to help her. And she was so happy, but just pushing and being confident and knowing it's okay to put yourself out there. You might put your foot in your mouth at some point, but if you're there just trying to help people, what can anybody say? It's all from the goodness of your heart. So that was one of my favorite stories.
Yeah. Being our own patient advocates or advocates for other people is so important that we don't, if we're not happy, we feel like something is not right.
Mm-hmm.
We need to keep pushing.
Right. Exactly.
Keep moving along to the next person who might listen a little bit better or understand or get you to the person that you need to get to. But that's why we bring stories like this, not just to talk about a conference, it's amazing, but to talk about things that might reveal in you like, oh, I know so-and-so who may need your help. And so, Kelsy, how can people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about any of the things we've talked about today?
So like I said, you can find me at my email, kelsy@bloommomtribe.com. You can message me on Instagram at bloommomtribe. There are a couple of us on there, but I usually see all of the messages. I think one of the most important things I want you to take away from is I've had a couple moms say, I don't know if I can go. I don't know if I can get my husband to see why I need a break. And so I wanted to kind of give you a few tips because I think it's important for your own independence and your confidence that you find ways to use your voice and stick up for yourself. So really quickly, I have 4 ways you want to, there are 4 words that I use: time, target, tone, and truth. So when you're speaking to your significant other, or even if this is for a job and you're going to speak to your boss or, or your kids and you're going to speak to them about something that's maybe a big deal, pick the right time to do that. Don't pick a time when everybody's stressed out or you don't have enough time to discuss. Pick your target. Who is your target audience? If it's your husband that you need to talk to, know when's the right time for him. When is it going to work for him to have this discussion with you? Tone. Use the right tone of voice. Don't go in begging or pleading or angry or desperate. Go in confident and knowing that you're going to get out of this conversation what you want to get out of it. Even if you don't, go in confident, and then you probably will. And 4th is truth. And for me, the truth is you've got to reveal your truth. So if that means that you're going to your husband and saying, I need a getaway, you have no idea how hard this is to be a stay-at-home mom or to be a working mom and then come home and I'm still tired. My bucket needs to be filled. I'm depleted. I'm exhausted. I need a break. You have to say your truth. No one will ever know. No one is you. So unless you're sharing your truth with your significant other, with your family, no one will ever know what you truly, truly need. So you have to stick up for yourself. And I asked my husband, what are a couple of words that you would use to describe how someone needs to be to be a whole, person coming in and being their best self. And he said, independence and confidence. Be independent and confident. Even if you're that mom that's covered in saliva and snot and changing diapers, you can still be independent and confident. You have not lost who you are underneath just because you're wearing a mom hat too. It's an amazing title. Mom is an amazing title. But before you were a mom or a wife, you were you. And I just don't want you to forget it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really fun to come with other women. So bring a group of 4, share a room, reduce the cost a little bit with the room, at least.
It reduces the mom guilt too.
Yeah,
it does. It helps because if you say, well, I'm going with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, now all of their husbands are also on dad duty or, finding carpool and all that, play dates. So it really does help. And once you've done this the first time, you're hooked. And then you won't have as hard of a time the next time. The mom guilt will lessen as you do it. But you have to just give yourself that time.
Yep.
You deserve it.
Put it in the budget.
Yep. Sell something on eBay if you need to.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
I just got back from a conference yesterday. And so I understand where she's coming from with conferences. And if you guys can remember back when you were 13 years old and you had your first slumber party. Mm-hmm. I loved hanging out with my girlfriends till like 2 a.m, whatever, we wouldn't sleep sometimes. We just giggle and have the best time telling stories, and just you become a girl again. Like,
yes.
Did you get in touch with that teenager that got lost somewhere along the way that wanted to just have fun? You remember that Cyndi Lauper song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun? And like,
it's one of my favorite songs.
I love that song. I love working out to it. I just love turning it up. But that's what's still in there, and she might be repressed. So if that little girl or that teenager of you has been repressed for so long and you haven't giggled with other girls or thrown on your pajamas and slept in a room with 3 other girls in a long time, it's worth it to your soul.
It really is.
Just that part alone.
Oh my
is
gosh,
really
it's
fun.
so fun.
And then you got the conference to boot. So
well, and something too, and we've done this from the very beginning, is we always put in a lot of downtime, because for us, it's not having you come and go. We want you to come, be refreshed doing what you want to do that first day. You're done at 7:00 the first night. So you have time to go out to dinner, to get dressed up, to go dancing, or to go to a movie, or to get on your jammies and go order pizza in the room with your friends and do Uber Eats. Mm-hmm. And then on the Saturday of the conference, we always leave an hour and a half open for lunch. So again, you can take your gourmet boxed picnic lunch, and you can stay in the ballroom and connect with other women, which I would say more than half of the people do, or visit with a mentor at their table, or take your lunch and go Nordstrom Rack and eat your lunch with a couple of girlfriends, or go out and sit by the Pike Place Market. So we always pad in downtime. Saturday nights open as well. So it's not just about being fed all the amazing things that we're going to feed you. It's about having that downtime to just stop and breathe and relax. Mm-hmm. And the most important thing you can do when you leave, while you're there, and when you come home, is to let your family know how much fun you're having. Don't feel guilty that you're having fun. Let your kids see that mom knows how to have fun. They don't need to see every single thing you're doing, but ditch the guilt and just let them know, this has been so amazing. I'm so thankful. I can't wait to get home, but look at all the fun things I'm doing, and take a picture of the ferry, and take a picture of the Ferris wheel and the Space Needle, and let your family know, yes, you appreciate them, but you're also appreciating this time away from them, and that it's okay to do that. It's okay to be gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super important.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you
and
so
sharing
much.
your life with us and your passions, because you are truly a saint for going what you've been through and doing what you're doing for other women. It's amazing that you stepped out.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
It's my 4th baby for sure.
Yeah. Well, when you do step out and do hard things,
mm-hmm.
whether you're put into them unintentionally, like you were with your husband and your daughter, and I'm sure there's many stories you haven't told us, that where we're just like thrust those things at us, or you intentionally walk into a hard thing. It sounds exciting. I'm going to do this thing. But then you had to take that first step of faith and confidence in the direction of your goals and dreams. And it has become this huge thing. And God bless that. And you ran with that. And it's so exciting that you're doing this amazing conference. So guys, Bloom Mom Friends. Yeah, so Bloom Mom Tribe on Instagram. Mom Tribe on Instagram.
And on Facebook.
Yeah. And they have merchandise, all sorts of fun.
We do.
Your decor is so cute.
Thank you.
How you stylized everything.
Our color palette. I absolutely love it. Yeah, we have ambassadors that are signing up, and they get our ambassador box, and they get a 10% discount for selling tickets to their friends. So we pay them through PayPal. We have city leaders that are starting to sign up. And, everybody says, well, why are you doing that? Because I can't be in every city, and I need to get this out there. I'm so passionate about it, but I need help, and our team needs help. We have a team of several of us, and so you'll see us continue to grow as we bring on more city leaders and ambassadors. And it's exciting to be at this stage.
Yeah,
even though it's been 3.5 years.
Yeah, it's like a full-time job, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but I work it around when I work, so nobody's telling me what to do. So that's kind of the beauty of it too. It's okay to have a side hustle, ladies. It's okay to have a project that you're passionate about.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we'll be here to support you and help do your vision boards too.
Yeah.
So
we're the queen of the side hustle.
Yeah, exactly. So true. We're mompreneurs, and we're here to help other mompreneurs.
Yeah, I know. My side hustle became my full time. So
yeah,
and that's fun. My two word. What is your word this year? Have you thought about that yet?
Yeah, content. And here's why. Because you can say it two ways. So I want to be content with who I am and where Bloom Mom Tribe is at and where I'm at in my life and with my family. And I want to make more content for Bloom Mom Tribe and all the moms out there. So that means, with pop-ups and conference and blogs and lunch and listens, I want to build more content. So I'm using it in both ways.
Love it.
Thanks.
Wow.
Thanks.
So good.
It just came to me. What's yours?
Mine's impact.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. Just having more impact in the world. And and this word I had come up with this actually last week, but flexibility is important to me in my life. So I want to do and be able to do something where I have flexibility but in a way that can allow me to have the impact I want to have, and time freedom to do what I love in the world. And in light of Kobe Bryant's death and his daughter Gigi and all the 7 other people that died on the flight whose lives were taken too soon, that man had impact.
Oh, huge.
So much so that you turn on the TV and it's definitely still going to be going on for many weeks to come, just how devastating the loss is that he is to the community and to his family and all that he did. And I don't know, that's just my word. I'm thinking, how do I have more impact to even reach one person for God or for them, the woman that needs to be freed from some sort of pain that she's in, whether that be bodily pain or spiritual.
But that's what you're doing here. You're doing it. You're making an impact. We're like little drops in the bucket. Yeah. Right? The more drops with all of us, the bigger the bucket. So I love that.
Yeah. And community and tribe is huge. So yeah. Kelsy and I can work in our own little silos in our own homes, and coming together today has just been a blessing. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks, ladies. I hope everybody's going to have a great Monday.
Bye.
No bad days.
No bad days.
Just a great Monday.
Right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.